Welcome to Neutral Voices. I'm Dr. V, and this is In Depth, where we dig deep in the trenches of what matters. And tonight we're having an amazing conversation, interesting conversation about the roles of a mother and a father. Mm-hmm. So we have some mothers. Well, we have a mother. Two fathers.
Yes.
We have fathers in the audience, mothers in the audience.
Yes.
I am neither. So I'm going to turn it all the way.
You could be either one, though.
No. Honestly, I can't do that. I will never deny. Yes, at one point I was a stepmother.
Yeah.
And I actually loved it.
Right.
I enjoyed it.
Right.
So anyway, but the truth is, I didn't get any respect from the outsider sometimes because they feel like you haven't gone through the pain. And you don't.
Right.
You don't know what it's really
you
like.
Your stripes.
So, you know that microwave mom type stuff don't count.
Yeah, you were the replacement.
But to me, man, I was like knocking my shoulders off at the end of the day, like, yay.
Right.
You know, felt good about myself. So anyway, we can go down a whole lot of different avenues. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a dark side to this.
Right.
But I'm going to stay on the light side right now because as I was digging and doing a little research, I started feeling real heavy, and I felt a real dark cloud about some of the information I was finding out. And so, so to stay on the light side, how do we feel about the role? And then if we look at the way it used to be compared to the way it is today.
Before, I want to go back to what you said about the stepmother, because you hear that a lot. And I will just say, I know a lot of times there's like a lot of animosity. So, if you leave your husband or he leaves you and then another woman comes in, or a man, it's kind of weird. And you can either have that animosity or you can realize that woman is going to be with your child. So my daughter has a stepmother who has no other children. She's never had a child. I look at her as a mother because she is a mother to my daughter. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to say that even if somebody made you feel like that, it is not true, because it is just as hard being a stepmother as it is a mother. So
I would agree.
There's that.
Thank you.
There's
because
that.
I felt like that.
No, I would
a lot of women
outside
do.
of the labor pains and
because a lot of women who claim to love their children make the stepmother feel like that, and in turn it's going to punish the child. Mm-hmm. So absolutely that.
You are correct.
Yeah. Now, I think the roles now have completely, they're different because we're in a different time. We're in a different space of this world. Think about, if we can go back, and I'm just going to touch this real quick. As biblical times, and it was set, the man was the head. He was the feeder, he was the provider, he was the protector. The mother was the nurturer. She was the raiser of children. She was the keeper of the house. That was the roles that were set. But those roles are not there today. Not too many people subscribe to those roles. We have our own roles. We want to do our own thing. So I don't.
Well, I think the roles are still there. And as you say, when you accept and you adopt or you create your own idea of what it means to be a father, then that changes the game. Or some of the women that have decided that they can be almost a better father than the father.
True.
And so you have confusion.
Yes.
And so, but I just want to say that I believe the roles are there, and we're going to kind of get into some of those different roles. Jill, you had something you want to add?
Yeah, so just to answer that briefly, because I know we're going to get into it. So I think that the roles have changed because the family structure has also changed for issues that we're going to get into, like environmental, financial issues, health issues, situations that are out of parental control, a death. And also when you say the rules were set back then, who set the rules back then?
It's biblical.
It started out biblical, but then society, they started to adhere to those rules. So it's still, we know what the rules are. It's just up to people if they want to adhere to those rules.
Well, you have to look at it like this. A lot of people don't understand being in a marriage is a business. And you do have a CEO, then you do have the COO of a business, of the household. So if you stay along those lines and run a structured business, you can have a structured family.
Now, would the father be the COO?
Yeah, the father is the head, but when
you said CEO and COO.
Yeah, you gotta look at it like this: the father is the head of the household, but the mother runs the house. It's just that simple. It's not like she tells him what to do. If you look at the virtual woman, and if you read the virtual woman. Mm-hmm. The man stayed out. She took care of the house and had her own business. If you break the virtual woman down, if you break everything down on that, that's how it was ran. Right. She made sure everything ran, the house ran smooth, but she also had her own business. So it's the same thing.
You like that virtual woman.
No, it's just,
I know, but I heard you talk about it before. Yeah. It's good.
Truth, though. Yeah. It's the truth. And men have to understand we have to play our role in the household.
Yeah.
Even outside the household. I have kids. So, me and my kids' mom are not together no more, but I still have a dominant role to play.
As a co-parent, right.
Which
is one of the roles as a father. But I'm saying...
No, scratch the code.
What you call it?
I am a parent.
Right, you are a parent. I know you said that before, and I want you to address that. So it's okay, pop your collar. It's okay. But wait a minute.
I'm a parent.
Okay, but you and that's what I just said.
Societal, yeah.
But remember what I just said? Yeah. That people adopt their own terminology and their own way of being in that marriage, and you get to do that, or outside of the marriage or whatever. So you can call yourself the co.
No co.
Or not.
Yeah.
I'm a parent.
And so what I'm saying is, so you call yourself a parent, but
I'm going to stop you right. I have to. See, that lies the problem right there. Mm-hmm. People label. And that's not a label that needs to be held as a co-parent. If you are a parent, you are a parent. No matter if you're in the household or outside the household, you still have to parent your child.
Can I get somebody to look up the definition to co while he's breaking this down?
I'm going to tell you, I can tell you.
Together.
Yes.
Together?
That's all.
Yeah. That's all.
So I just want you to know, because you can have a co-worker. I think you're looking at co from a different perspective.
Like the custodial.
I can never put code on that because of some fact I am a parent.
Well,
okay. And you get to be a parent.
She's a parent. So
and we're gonna let you be a parent.
No, you're missing what I'm saying because you think you're missing everything I'm saying.
Can I get in on this? And I completely understand what E's saying, but to understand both aspects of this, and then you said it, and E's right. The problem is, there are labels, but societal labels put things on there, and as the co-parent, if you think about it, I'm going to talk about Indiana. I don't know any other state but Indiana because I worked here and I dealt with these situations. Being a co-parent in Indiana is that you are not the non-custodial. Mm-hmm. This is the definition. You're not the non-custodial, or there's a joint custody. There's some way within that. Mm-hmm. But in Indiana, the problem is they show favoritism to the mother. And they eliminate, a lot of, because I've seen this happen to families that, the father is the better parent, but beneficially they'll leave him with the mother because they don't like separating them from the mother. Mm-hmm. But so that's where the co-issue is.
So we have talked about that, but when we're doing something like this and we're educating and we're bringing awareness to our community, we're not just talking about ourselves.
Yeah, no,
we're not talking about. I know. I just need to finish this.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're saying that because you're doing it at me.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. I mean, if you honestly, you have to look at
Welcome to Neutral Voices. I'm Dr. B, and this is In Depth. And sometimes we can't make it to the depth because we are on the surface.
So
I am trying to make it through.
It's that simple.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give the role of the father, since this is the name of the show, according to research, the key roles of the father is being involved, supportive, actively engaged, in the upbringing and the well-being of the child. But they give five categories, and they are as follows. the provider, the co-parent,
Right.
the role model,
Gotcha.
emotional support, and the household responsibilities.
Right.
These are the 5 that research shows, not
I don't think you had
Dr. V.
I'm going to go with you on that, but I don't think research has to do that. As we stated, those were already outlined. Those were already set guidelines. So.
But I just want us to stick to the script for this one moment.
I got you.
These are the key roles of the father. So I wanted to bring those out as we get into the key roles of the mother.
Okay.
And then we can talk about some comparisons and to see why they have individual roles when they're working together.
All right.
That's all.
Let's get it.
All right. Now, so we heard the key roles of the father. And so the mother, who is said to be the one to put herself second to the house. Because if there's not enough, she's going to be the one to go without.
Yeah. Eat last, do this last. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was interesting that they didn't have the father down as the nurturer or caregiver.
Right.
And sometimes he could be that.
Right.
She has domestic responsibilities, emotional support,
Right.
educational involvement,
Yes.
role model. And so I'm thinking, the education wasn't on the father's side. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is kind of interesting. That's very interesting.
So that's how come I wanted to get out their findings of the 5 roles.
Yeah. Now, the education, and we're going to look at it I'm going to think modern times because we're going to think schooling. We're going to, the mother's going to be the one because the father's normally the one working. So the mother's going to be one go to the PTA meetings, the parent-teacher conferences and everything where the father's not there. But if you look at it overall, it's the father's job as well to educate because if I'm a tradesman, and E spoke on this, if I'm a tradesman or I have a business or I have something, it's my job to teach my children how to carry on that business, how to stay self-sufficient. So I think that is a more modern look at it, that, going to the school, being involved in that way educational-wise. But fathers, I went to everything that my kids did at school. I went to PTA meetings. I went to parent-teacher conference. I was always at these meetings.
Okay, so when you're saying that and being at, and that's one thing, so that's one side of education. I'm thinking about being the educator in the house. So when you look at that, mom, dad, you, your wife, the way you did things, how did you both split or share or educate together? What did that look like inside the home?
Which one knew whatever they needed to know better? Which one could do, or more proficient, knew that, if it was something that she knew better and was well equipped to handle your thing.
Right. Safe to pass it over.
Yeah.
You teach that.
Yeah,
I'm not good with finances or numbers, etc. So you handle that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You talk about, so I was listening to you read the list, and I've said before that my parents have a very traditional marriage. They're the only person each other has ever been with, period. But they also follow traditional roles as far as like how I saw my grandparents and my great-grandparents. So what you read on the list was my mother and then my father on the other. So with that being said, I grew up thinking that's the way it was. So, and as an unmarried mom, I'm not going to use the word single mom, I don't like that, but as an unmarried mother, sometimes it feels overwhelming to me because I know that you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do this. But what if there's just one person? So I think it also makes it more difficult seeing our parents take those roles and knowing that we've raised our child for 18 years and haven't raised them to see the things that I saw.
Right.
So those roles are exactly what my parents go by today.
Right. And so, so I know, Jill, you were talking about way back when and how it used to be and up to now. So are there any things in particular that stands out to you?
So, one of the things, and I just wanted to say that, like I said before, I think the roles have changed because the structure has changed. So I did a little research, and I found that babies in 1960s obviously arrived mostly, through marriage. That's just the way it was. Today, 4 out of 10 that are born to women who are not married. Back then, it says almost over 90%. So that's a huge difference. So you have to look at the why in that. So also in 1960s, half of the mothers stayed home. In 2022, last year, the last study, 15%. So you look at all of these variables and you wonder what has changed. So when you ask, I would say, economic, social value systems, that is a big one. People do not value the family structure anymore. Not at all.
When you say people, so
Right.
I'm glad that you said that. I would like to be a little bit more specific when you say that. Who's not valuing the family?
And I wanted to go with that, but I wanted to use a court term. I wanted to say, Your Honor, can I recall this witness at another time? Because I know you got some things you want to get to.
No. We're doing good. Definitely.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. Now, you say in the 60s, 4 out of 10 children were born to a single.
No, that's now.
That's now. 4 out of 10.
That's now.
4 out of 10. Okay. And 90% were born in a marriage in the 60s. Okay. Now let's look at what happened during the 60s. There was a lot of turmoil and there was a lot of changes during the 60s and early 70s. What happened was, if you look at every industrial city that was industrial at the time, they started deindustrializing those cities. And which means that, like, I'm going to take Detroit as one of the cities. Detroit was still bustling, but they started breaking down Chicago. They started breaking down, means in which families could maintain and hold themselves together. Then welfare became a more prominent thing.
Exactly.
And when welfare became more prominent, it was set up that, because these black women supposedly were having these children and the fathers weren't there when the fathers was there. But then they told them, if you eliminate the father, roll out of your household, which is to give you food, take care of your rent, your health, all of that. We take that person out of the household. We eliminate that role.
So the government became the father.
The government became the father. We're giving you food. Those are food stamps. We're going to feed you. We're going to pay your rent. Section 8, Housing Authority. We're going to give you cash. That's TANF, welfare, or whatever you want to think about. A value system. The family is no longer valued because it's not a unit. It has no value anymore.
Exactly.
So you take that role out. So that's where a lot of these gender role, these parental roles and everything has transformed, because one is we don't see it because it's being eliminated.
Right.
We see it, but it's not. And now to see a father in a household or a marriage that lasts more than 5 years is an oddity.
Yeah.
It's a total oddity.
Yeah.
Those things don't. Oh, you've been married that long? Ooh, wow.
Right.
So I'm saying, okay, so you contribute that to what?
To the government and to society when they did that, and they eliminated the father out of the role, out of the place of the life of the family.
So how, just focusing on that, how can we change that? What do we need to do so that doesn't happen? The government should not control my marriage, because I should have some sense of stability on my own, or trust in God or faith that we're going to make it.
Yes, but here's where it is. Now, I'm not saying they're controlling your marriage. They just conditioned everybody to believe that role is not necessary. So that brings us to the independent woman.
Independent woman, let me talk to you.
I'm telling you.
I'm just saying, if it's about that, me and my boo, we're going to be booed up and eating grits and eggs, and we're going to have to do that.
Why'd you say it like that? You said the independent woman.
I need to keep him in the house.
I want y'all to understand that it is a thing that has developed, and it's something that it shouldn't have been. And here's what I'm saying. Yes, a woman can take care of herself. I'm talking about the thought. I'm talking about the mantra. I'm talking about the whole thing about the independent woman. Think about the independent woman. I don't need this. I don't need him for this. I don't need him for that. I don't need him for that. So that has conditioned a lot of people, which takes those roles out, because you don't need me for that. So when you think of that,
but we don't.
Well, I'm not saying you.
But you did. You said that we say we don't need.
I said the independent woman mantra. I never pointed a finger. I never said anybody. I said the mantra. I said the personal.
But you're speaking for women. So listen. So there is a difference between a woman who has to do everything herself because she chooses to not go get a man. So that's my fault that I have to do everything myself because I'm picky and ridiculous. So with that being said, I don't look at it like, oh, I don't need a man for this. I don't need a man. But I say, I'm going to step into the role that I am forced to step into, whether I put myself there or the government put myself. You know what your role is. Independent. I'm not done. Hold on. Independent means I know, but that's different.
No, it's not.
Because I'm independent. Independent women, they will cut you off in a heartbeat.
Let me tell you, because obviously an independent woman you weren't listening, and I didn't say the independent. I said the independent woman mantra. Do you know what that means? That means the slogan. That means the go by. That means what I believe. You don't believe that.
But which women have you met that are like that?
I've met a lot of women like that.
Like in real life?
In real life. You know where I work?
They looked at you and said, I do not need a man.
It's so amazing that
you know where I work. I hear that daily. I hear that daily.
The mother and father is in the room.
You asked that question, but if you listen, let's just listen to the music. I'm independent. I don't need no man for this. I don't need no man. I can do this. I can do that. Cool. But
it's not just the music. It's everywhere.
I mean, it's everywhere. But I'm just saying, it's in the music. And when you separate the man from the house, you destroy the child mentally.
Yep.
You really destroy the child.
And
because at that point, the man should have structure, stability, and some type of understanding.
Can a woman raise a man?
No.
Let's talk about that for 1 second.
I honestly feel that I'm be quite honest. A man can't raise a girl to become a woman. A woman can't raise a boy to be a man because of the traits. Some of the traits that man instills into that young man, and some of the traits that the woman instills. I could tell a female, my daughter, how to put on, and I'm just gonna be how to use a tampon. But how do I know she put it on wrong or right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And you know, and
that's very true.
Well, I mean, that's why you have a sister and a grandmother and different things like that. No, I definitely understand what you're saying.
And certain things that a woman can tell a boy how or what it's supposed to, how that morning would. I mean, just let's be realistic about it. Child, I had something in my drawers.
Right.
Let's talk about it, young man.
Here we are. This is what we do.
You have to understand, and certain things that a man can really explain to his son and show his son. And then on top of that, it's just being in that boy's life. He sees his dad get up, go to work. He sees his dad, with going grinding every day. Now he has a mentality. This is how my dad got us to where we at. And the same with the daughter. She see her mom get up, put on makeup, put on lipstick. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I could show you how to put on lipstick. I could get on YouTube and say, hey, this is what it looked like. But I can't break it down like why you put this on or what type of foundation to put on your face. I can't do that.
Those are small things. I know, Jill, you want to get in there?
Well, I was just going to say the reason I asked him that because I knew where he was going to go with that. And people say that all the time. And there's, split opinions. And I'm going to say props to anybody who has had to any mother who has had to step into that role for a husband that passed or whatever the reason. However, I agree 100%. And not just do I agree with it, but I found something that actually backs it up. So Sigmund Freud actually is a psychoanalyst. What?
Yeah, he was a psychoanalyst.
Why are you laughing? Are you laughing because you knew I was going to bring up something philosophical?
Freud. No, I'm listening.
Yeah, so Sigmund Freud, anyway, did a study, and he's been studying human behavior for a very long time, saying that boys will normally abandon the love of their mother, and instead they will begin to identify with the father, taking on the father's characteristics, the father's values, the father's habits, and this is actually called Oedipus, and that is it's in Greek mythology, Oedipus complex. Boys who do not resolve this complex will experience psychological issues later in life. This study was done a very, very long time ago. Very long time ago.
Yeah.
So that backs up what he says.
But can a woman raise a man to be a man? Theoretically and factually, no. But can she do a good job at doing it? I'm going to say yes. But are there going to be flaws? Are there going to be deficiencies? More than likely. because of the connection. Because I don't want to. There are some mothers that are unmarried or single mothers, not by choice. Circumstances happen, so they had to raise that child. And
so, can you continue with add the rest of the story? And they have done an amazing job. And that child has gone on to be amazing in the world.
But we don't know if the community or what male factors that you said, there's a male factor in their life. So I don't want to, dismiss that fact, but it's true that there is going to be a great void in the raising of either because man, I got girls and men.
Okay. It's like when a man raises exactly.
The thought process, you can't, you as a man, I couldn't fathom sitting there and listening to certain things that she need to talk to her mom about, because I can only give her a male perspective on certain things, but she honestly need a female understanding of a situation that she's going through. Well, so, I mean, you have to like, okay, hey, sis, I'm gonna need you to slide on through. This is your, understand? This is this is you.
The village.
But, yes. Well, that's how come. I mean, the original plan would have been great, right? If it had worked out that way. Right. So, husband, wife, raising the children, little house on the prairie, word cleaver, etc. Leave it to Beaver, right?
Fence.
Yeah. So, Huxtables, whoever, that would have been awesome.
Right.
But things. Look at where we are now. So let's get back to some of the roles of parenting that I believe that parents have put on the shelf, right? So, I mean, we can get into grandparents, too. I heard somebody say the other day, I wonder how come my dad raised us to not do X, Y, Z, but the grandkids come over and he let them do the very thing that they,
Because
so,
it's a different time.
Different time. People get tired. Yeah. Okay, so discipline. I was really surprised not to see the discipline, at least on the father's side, since they, education over here. Because the discipline. So what do y'all think about that?
You can discipline your children.
You cannot?
You whoop your child, we're going to come knock at your door. And I'm only being facetious. I'm being facetious. But
you kind of being true. I'm saying when we go back to the way it used to be. So since, that was mentioned.
You could discipline your children. You can chastise your children. But now it's frowned upon. And now, even in a psychological world where she mentioned Freud, they're telling us physical discipline is not conducive or not helping. So now we got to find these ways to talk to them. We got to validate their feelings. We got to do all of this. We got to soften them up. So for that stern father, if I'm that stern father, I'm brutal. I'm super masculine. What was it called? Toxic masculinity is what they call it now. Because I'm this brutal, harsh person. I'm not letting this child understand his own identity, his own place. I'm stifling their growth and all. Whereas now, I gotta, okay, little Timmy, little Johnny, let's sit down.
But what? I wasn't thinking about it.
Growth right there, because the world is not going to say, okay, little Timmy, you can't do. No, the world going to say, oh, you ain't going to do it. The world is smacking your face in a heartbeat.
In a minute.
So at some point, you have to say, me personally, I bust mine to the white meat. Won't care. But guess what? I would rather do it than have 15 police beating my son half to death.
Right. Okay. So what I wanted to say real quick, you were talking about the worst case, right? Discipline. But I was also wanting to bring up the fact that the parent's role is to teach the child boundaries.
Yes.
So when I talk about discipline, so I'm talking about the other type of discipline where you're saying the reason why you want to be home by a certain time, or the reason why you need to do your homework. Right. So that other side of that discipline,
and that,
right?
Yeah, in a broad scheme, yes, setting boundaries, things like that. But again, if you think about it, even in school, you work in a school, but even if you hear some of the psychological talk is, and we talk about where we are now, because we have, as a family, have given our power outside of the household. We have now started listening to everybody but us in our household. So we have done it to ourselves by allowing all these factions and all these laws and all these entities come in and tell us how to raise our children. We have eliminated our own role because we are having other people tell us how to raise our children in our home. And when you say that, because even as simple as doing your homework, schools will tell you now, if at certain levels, but if they don't feel like doing it, let them do it later, and let them grow into, and that's what we're into now. Let them grow into their own individuality, because you don't know what they're going to be. So we listen to the legal people, we listen to the psychological people, we listen to other people, we listen to everybody. So we don't take up and stand up in our roles properly to do the things that we're supposed to be doing as parents. So our roles, we have surrendered them. So to say what the roles are is how you run your household, how Jill run her household. It's just that
government runs your household.
Yes,
that's what it boils down to. How the government and everybody else, that only you probably be with your child for all of 10. Let's say they go to school 8 hours a day.
7 to 8 hours, and these teachers be with my child for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, hour and a half throughout the day. Period.
Right.
But they could tell me how my son or how my daughter is versus me living with them, grooming them, and I'm like, no, you can't. And he's just like, okay, now I gotta listen to you versus controlling my own household, making my son understand, making my daughter understand how to conduct themselves properly.
Right, but that's because a lot of times in school the child is acting totally opposite that they're acting at home, and so some of the parents are in denial. And so one of the things, so as I was talking about discipline, I wanted to bring up was consequences. A lot of times parents have failed to I'll say stick to.
Right.
Yes.
You set a consequence or a punishment, but you don't stick to it.
Because it's a punishment for you. If you got to keep your child
But that's what I'm saying. So then it causes problems. So when they do get out there to the teacher, then they have this craziness. Jill, I know you were going to say something. Our time is really up.
Yeah, but we can go. It's good.
I wanted Jill to finish.
That's where we have one of the main issues with our child acting one way at home and one way at the other, because it's just like, okay, I really can't do nothing to you, so go sit in the corner. Put me in timeout. Back in the day, now that gave me more time to think about what I'm going to do, how much more I'm going to tear up, and that's what these kids are doing now. Little Timmy, you got to go to timeout for 5 minutes. What? One of the worst things I ever had to do when me and my cousin got in a fight. My mom made us sit in the front room, hug in the middle of the floor, and we couldn't move, and we couldn't cry. That's punishment right there. Me and you just got done fighting, and we both crying.
I'm so glad she did that.
and she made us just sit there. But we did learn. We got a whooping on top of it, but it was just the principle of, okay, y'all want to fight, this is the consequences, and you stuck with it. Punishments back in the day, if they took the Nintendo, they literally took the Nintendo. They don't like,
literally the whole thing.
No, I'm gonna tell you
the whole thing.
My mom did.
My mom did it psychologically.
Okay.
She took the cords.
The controllers.
No, she took the cords. She just took the cords and left it there.
My goodness. Isn't it interesting and funny how time flies when you're having such fun? Yes. Jill, I know you had something you wanted to get out. If you can get it out, you can get it.
I just wanted to tell you that discipline that you brought up and consequences, that's something that's huge because it's a cause and effect. So what you do is going to result in this. You do this, you're going to jail. You don't go to work, you're not going to have a job. You don't pay this. So there's so much of that that's lacking anymore, and you can see it. I see it as somebody who hires people. People coming in that are younger or in their 20s, even 30s, do not want to work because they were given a choice. We weren't given a choice. Hey, Jill, you're 13. Go bag groceries at the Wolcottville IGA. There was no choices. That's right. There were consequences.
The newspaper route or something.
Right. If you want a car, this is what you're going to do.
Shoveling snow.
There is none of that anymore. Oh, that's okay. The kids have the choice, not the parents anymore.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to squeeze out.
That's good. And so, a couple of the other roles we didn't get to. Our time is up, but I did want to talk about the parents' role in the child's health and what they eat and not eat, etc. We we really couldn't get into that, and safety, which is very important. So we got too many young people with guns in their hands and under the bed, etc., in the gym bag. Parents don't know,
because we don't search
crazy
our kids'
drugs.
rooms.
So we didn't get into the parents' role with keeping the child safe as far as their friends and the extracurricular activities and those things. This is Neutral Voices. I wish we had more time. I have a couple pages of notes. We'll have to get to them on another day.
We'll bring this back.
Yeah, we're going to have to,
Let's
because
run it back.
can I leave you with a horrible... No, I'm not going to tell you. I was going to tell you in the parents' role. One of the things that I discovered that was heartbreaking was I just want to say this, because you have to think about this, and this is why it's so important that as far as the deaths, it's called filicide, and it broke my heart to know that the most common perpetrator of child homicide is a parent, and 90% of filicide perpetrators are the biological parent, and 10% are the step parents, and so the question is that I had on the table is why, but we cannot get to that. So eventually we will, and maybe that's something you should look up. Look up filicide. This is Neutral Voices, and we're here to educate and bring awareness to our community. And we have been talking about the role of mothers and fathers. And as we always say when we exit,
always protect your mind.